So when asked about this question of what is selling, selling is a process. It's a very, very scientific process, I would call, which involves 7 steps. We call it the sales process, starting with prospecting. The very idea of acquisition of the customer, the prospect, starts from prospecting. The second step is to seek an appointment or a meeting with your prospect, the funnel that one has created. So one needs to seek an appointment. Third is meet and greet. How well you are prepared to meet and greet with a lot of enthusiasm, passion, and a lot of motivation. The third step is meet and greet. The fourth step is again very, very scientific, to understand the need of the customer. That is called need analysis. The need of a lady doctor for the purchase of a car could be very, very different. She would prefer a petrol-driven car, whereas the need of a real estate builder or a real estate agent would be totally different. It could be diesel vehicle or SUV or so on and so forth. So in this complex, I was coming to the steps first. The fifth step is your demo. We call it features, advantages, and benefits. The touch and feel of something, the pleasure of having that feel of buying a product or whatever. And the sixth step is the final, the negotiation and the purchase. We close, we seal the deal, we call it. And finally, the seventh step to the process is seeking reference. If you create one delighted customer, I'm sure he or she would give you 4 more. And this is how the cycle goes on. So this, as I explained earlier, is a very scientific. Each step involves so much of deliberation. Rather, I can give a complete 1 hour of webinar on, I can do something for completely 1 or 2 hours on each step of this process. However, just to understand in a nutshell, these 7 steps of selling process are very, very important. And when you ask me about the selling in this era, of course, it's extremely important to understand the world has become very complex. We have the omni-channel, we have physical stores, we have online purchase, we have e-commerce coming. The consumer preferences, the consumer behavior has drastically changed over the years. It is more of an informed customer now through the web at his fingertips. Information is flowing rapidly, and so is the consumer behavior. And therefore, the complexity of sales has, multiplied many folds. So I would, in a nutshell, call selling is something which can create the delight of a customer through ways and means, which of course are highly conducive to help him or her to make a final purchase. So it's a whole process which needs to be understood and acted well. Well, selling and creative selling. See, we need to understand every sale that we encounter involves so many steps. It starts with your creativity. It has to be thought. I mean, it is a strategic way of doing something. It's not that easy. There is no SOP. There is no hard and fast rule. So creating something out of the box or creating that need for the customer is extremely important. I'll give you an example. Creativity is understood when you are subjected to something. There was a time when Nerolac paint had enough stock lying at their godown, and there was little I would not call defect, but that was a second grade of paint they had in bulk, So they gave this challenge to their team, and of course, one of the creative salesmen there, thought of approaching, the railways, because he was, of course, very much aware about the launch of Shatabdis about 35 years back. And he was quite aware because of his knowledge or whatever, his current affairs or everything. So this gentleman, through his creativity, approached the railways. And he made a sales pitch, saying to the purchase head of railways that, sir, the idea, would you like this idea of keeping paint of your Shatabdis that you are going to launch soon, other than the brown colored bogies that you have for the normal railway trains? How is it if you have it differently blue painted Shatabdis? This idea struck so well that the purchase head, of course, was excited, and he says it's something definitely we would like to do to have it differently colored. And then he also disclosed that there is abundant paint lying at the godown with little B category of its speculation, and this whole thing can be used in bulk for the railway bogies. And this is creativity. Creativity is again an example where Coca-Cola, I worked in Coca-Cola for 17 years, and therefore what happened? Again, there was a volume which was stagnant in the cities. There was deliberation amongst the team members, and this is how the concept of home delivery came forward. And we started delivering, in 2-liter PET packs. At the grocery stores, the lady would go buy grocery and will ask the shopkeeper to pack 2 bottles with a rush. And the consumption at home started increasing. We started delivering at home also in our returnable glass bottles. And also the very idea of having a Visi cooler at the petrol pump, where there's usually a stoppage for 10-15 minutes. The children are there and they need to quench their thirst, something to have fresh and cool Coca-Cola. So we started keeping a Visi cooler at every petrol pump, and this is how the sale increased. And another creative idea came from somebody saying, okay, sir, we have these conventional outlets which are pan bidi shops, these bakery shops and so many, hotels and so on and so forth. But nobody had thought of chemist. Every chemist holds a refrigerator. And one could see through that creativity the storage to keep about 10-15 bottles with a chemist. What a beautiful creative idea. And that was included. Chemists were made as the unconventional or the non-conventional outlets for us. That is creativity. So you have to think of the box. It's a very strategic way. You have to reach. You have to put your shoes from the perspective of the buyer, what they think, what is their psychology, and so forth. The need is so high, and I would rather say it's so complex. The process of selling, it is so competitive. It is so, price driven. There is so much of variety. Unless you create something different for the customer, there has to be something plus. And that plus is the differentiator. And the whole team, the marketing team, is working on creating that plus factor, which comes through creativity. You see, from the customer point of view, if I see, like what previously there were no, when vehicles were sold, the features and advantages were not that many. It was only the torque, the speed, the comfort of the car that used to be looked into majorly. But here we have the protection, we have the color combination, we have the kind of features, advantages, benefits, everything works so meticulously that the teams are working. Even the design, even the plastic bumpers or whatever, is being thought from the perspective that how would it be taken by the ultimate buyer. So this is how creativity makes all the difference. Well, I would say to an extent, your upbringing, your background, your culture, your peer group, your friends group helps into certain traits which come genetically in your thought process that you have created. I would give you an example of a child who is very good in art and drawing. It's either coming from the genetic effect or has seen his or her parents doing something, fine arts or drawing or something, or inculcating that habit of, drawing figures or something. And they do so well as artists. We have seen a small child in class 3, class 4, drawing beautiful figures, drawing beautiful pictures. That is inherited, or it's a process of your upbringing. And ultimately, what happens? Over the years, the same child masters the art and becomes an architect, and does very well in architecture. Or he becomes an interior designer, or he becomes a creative graphic expert. So here is inherited factor. However, this skill is also learnable. If you subject yourself into such environment which is highly influencing through learning processes, there are modules, there is an interest which is created. I may not have been a very good artist in my school, but if I take admission into an architectural program, being good in maths or science, I still need to be very creative in my thought process, because creativity is the crux of architecture or interior design or whatever, beauty or ethnic look or something, that is a selling skill of, that is the beauty of your profession. That is something which singles out from the crowd. But as an architect there, I have to learn this skill through my interest into high intervention into such modules, referrals, books, internet. There is so much of material. It is flooded. Learning any skill today is very easy. It was very difficult earlier. There is so much of material available to us as on date that sky is the limit. You can, learn dancing. You can learn acting. You can learn anything. So I would call it is both. It's hereditary as well as acquired.